Board games. I love talking about them. What are we doing today? Crowdfunding round up. You ready to get jacked? Let's talk about the big stuff out there, right? 50-50. You're either all in or you're all out. I don't know what that means. I just went with it. It's part of the cold open. Some interesting stuff to talk about today, folks. Spiciness. Going right into it. Let's do it. Because, right, some days you preamble and some days you don't worry about it whatsoever. Now, what are we starting off the week with? Well, Oath. New foundations. New expansions for Arcs on the Ground. Wait, isn't that what we're calling it? Arcs on the Ground? Or do we only get to say it the other way as Arcs is Oath in space? Right? Nothing like bad sayings on my channel. That's what you come for, but you stay for the rest of it. So, what are we getting here? $350,000, less than 24 hours in at this point, and I'm covering it early because I want to talk about this. I had a lot on my mind, right? This is the 50-50, right? Coin flip. If you've played it, you know whether or not. If you haven't played it, it's still a coin flip whether or not you're going to get it. The thing I don't get from the page is the ease of accessibility that I thought this was supposed to be as sort of a better two-player version of this, if you will. I'm not going to make the argument about value with this one. Leader Games, for the most part, has been better value for the majority of their crowdfunding 10 campaigns, as you can see on this page. This is double expansion, triple module, essentially, if you will. And then the one thing I'll give kudos for, whether or not you say this game is right for you, whether or not you've played it, whether or not you've owned it, whether or not you've sold it, I give kudos where kudos is due. I don't care how big you are or how small you are. Let's talk about the fact that I hate bundling gameplay content with player mode content. In the sense that, look, here is the solo mode. It's freaking separate than the gameplay. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. They don't shoehorn it in. Is this $50 worth? I have no idea. Is it really $95 worth? Probably not totally by the end of the year and a half after this campaign delivers, but it's probably somewhere in between. But that's going to be mitigated slightly one way or the other by shipping. So you back it from an indie side of things. You back it because it's a smaller publisher-esque, not because it's necessarily I'm going to save $1,000 in this campaign, right? The bonus content down here, more variability. And then they offer you 3 new things here that we can talk about as we scroll down here. Let's see, did I already pass it? No, Return to Oath. First thing, Lineage. You get individual quests. Accomplish them, better yourself, period. No more depending on other people. No more, having flip changes all around, whether or not you're the Chancellor and you get the big bonus. No, this is what you're getting. You just get stuff that you can deal with and do no matter what else happens with the game. Okay, cool. Not adding overhead. Awesome. Governing looming threats. Looming threats representing what else is going to be going on. Chancellor draws stuff at the beginning of a govern phase, and you get bag filled with deluxe tiles that are going to represent talents, capacities of the Empire, and then passing it along. So these kingdoms are going to change, as you can see there. Those are going to be also in the forms of threats. Dealing with them or ignoring them at your own peril. Not adding a ton more complexity there. Last up here, Foundations. Revamping the Chronicle phase. Winner still gets to govern, but now the holder of the Darkest Secret gets to draw foundation cards and changes the rules of the game. Mitigation much from a runaway leader that people have said sometimes when they get the Chancellor and Chancellor it up repeatedly? Boom, there you go. Change the victory conditions, change the core systems, change combat. Doesn't make it more complex. Well, it might make it more complex because then you have to learn something new, but there you go to mitigate. I don't care about solo mode. Solo mode, bunch of people who do solo stuff, so you know what? People who are familiar with solo, not shoehorning it in. Do you want it? Great. Do you not want it? Don't have to worry about getting it for a $60 or $70 bundle forced in with you from that aspect of things. I don't know what else to say, right? Oath is Oath, and you either love it or hate it. And everybody loves it that's, super into this sort of thing. But it's probably, I make the argument that this isn't going to change your mind either. Period. It's not. Now, I wish there was this on the page so you can kind of see what the shipping will actually be. I'm going to guess like $20 even in the US, though. Boom, continental US, 16 bucks. All the new stuff, 18 bucks, and additional cost per pledge, whatever. So not horrible even in the EU right there. EU is looking at, anywhere between actually somehow less than Canada and a good portion of outside of America there in North America. So again, it's going to change your mind? No. Should you get it? No. Are you going to play it? No. Are you still interested in looking at it and potentially buying it regardless like me? Yes. Next game, less shame. Terraria, the board game. It finally launched out of nowhere from Paper Fort and got $500,000. Now, part of you is going to look at that and go, Chris, that's right now the biggest winner on crowdfunding this week. And part of you also goes, wait, isn't that like a hugely massive video game IP situation? Yes, it is on both of those accounts. And I'll also make the argument that, is this potentially underperforming as well? I don't know, because I don't know much about this game. You've got a couple descriptive descriptions on the page, and you've got a couple halfway, telling you what's going on GIFs. But GIFs, I always forget which way I'm supposed to pronounce that based on what internet wave is going on or what popular trend is going on as a whole. But, that's what you've got going on this game. Cooperative deck building with dice-based combat. So essentially what you're doing is you build your deck and you have these 4 different actions or adventure combo systems that you're going to be utilizing, digging for more resources, fighting enemies, exploring with the action point system of the ever-changing biomes, and then building and crafting the stuff you're going to need along the way in order to, defeat whatever quest token situation that you want to do. So if you click the how to play down here, it tells you how many of the 4 objective chains that you want to attempt, and then you just have to do them before you run out of respawns. How do you measure respawns? How many respawns do you get? How hard is it? You can attempt to defeat Wall of Flesh, the hardest boss in the game, for immediate victory. Okay. I don't know anything about the bosses because that's kind of jumping the shark, I guess. Generate a hidden mini-map. This determines the layouts of the biomes. You lay them out, and then you get day-night cycles that you take your turn simultaneously, drawing from your unique personal deck. How to play your action points, exploring, digging, chopping, fighting, crafting, like we said, 30 different types of enemies, but it's dice-based. You roll higher than your opponent, you deal them damage. They roll higher than you, well, vice versa. Just gets repeated, rinse and reverse on enemies as a whole, and platforming across, again, like very descriptive. This is what you do, this is what you do, this is what you do. How do you do it though? I have no idea. There's 2 preview videos here, which again, I think that's kind of weird when they've got on this unpaid promotion, like, so you're just promoting it for free? Like, anyway, I'm not going to think about that one as a whole. But again, there's no rule book. There's no explanation further than that. There's no how this game flows. There's no dynamic differences at player counts and how that's going to affect the quests and objectives. They finally, cover in the middle of the page some stretch goals and some social goals, which is fine. You're going to get some gameplay and some deluxified and awesome. But I have absolutely no clue more than essentially what this was doing before the campaign than I do at looking at this page. So, how do you feel about that? You willing to risk it if you have nostalgia on the video game side of things? Hopefully we'll have a rule book. Hopefully we'll have something else to flow off of later. But, preview content doesn't make me feel comfortable when I'm looking at this and going, okay, this pledge is $80 essentially right now for the lower level pledge. And it's $150 for the higher level pledge there, with all of the deluxifications and exclusives and sleeves and themed desktop backgrounds. Yep, that's a thing on crowdfunding. Next campaign. We have to go back to Terraria here for a second, though, because it was brought up to me that there's no designer on this. There's no designer listed on Board Game Geek. And also, there's some issue of the Senjutsu style of things as the person who is running this, but then some overlap with some of the other more recent, not issue-wise games of like Cosmoctopus, that one. And so, again, just kind of making me a little bit, right? And is this really going to be what you want? And they said now in the comment section over on Board Game Geek, because they're addressing or trying to address some of these criticisms or concerns, I guess maybe I should say more so than anything else, that there will be a rule book and there will be some sort of gameplay in the near future before the campaign ends. So tune in 3 weeks. So take that for what you will, but okay, I wouldn't go for IP. I'd go for wait and see. We're talking about Mysticana, Foundation deck. I put it out in my video last week. You didn't watch it. It was like 6 games all in one, and I covered Mysticana here. I covered the 5 different modes of Mysticana as well, with this sort of just 1 to 6 3-suited deck, paper, scissors, rock, in the form of water, fire, earth, and how you're going to be utilizing that. Personally speaking, I thought 2 of the 3 of the 5 game modes were significantly better. The one that's sort of like a combination of Battle Line meets the other solo trick-taking one from a couple years ago, from 2 years ago. I'm completely blanking on it right now. Great game, fantastic indie designer. I'm completely blanking on it. But there's 4 others to go along with it. A little bit of poker, a little bit of, just war as well. And then a little bit of puzzle-ish nature. And the 2 with the expansions down here were my other favorite too. 9 Perils here was the more battle line one. Sorcerer's Showdown is you just playing cards head to head based on shrinking abilities of how many are available to you in your hands. And then the Path Ahead, meaning that you just have to predict high or low. It's just high or low, essentially, is really all it is. You pick, and if you get it right, you don't lose. And if you don't, then you potentially slowly accumulate cards and lose. The Cave of Jin here, I always mispronounce that word, as you know on my channel, right? This is probably my second favorite one, or even my hardest one of all of these, is all of these mini boss dudes have conditions that you have to meet on all 4 sides, and as you meet them, you flip them over, and you get abilities to swap and move them around based off of what you're doing, because you only have so many cards in your hand that you can lay down in the first place, so you're going to be slowly winnowing that down. And then the Arcane Artifacts, which is also another version of Victory Points, who can play the highest style of things, and that's probably 3rd overall. So expansion updates, so maybe there's going to be more stuff. Ooh, that's interesting. So, I mean, yeah, you can do tons of stuff with this. It's super light. It's super easy and approachable. I learned all 5 of these games within about, an hour, essentially, and played them all within an hour as well. And so that's what you're getting out of this. So you can check out all these other people's videos talking about it better than I am, and it gives you everything that you need to know, and you're going to get the expansion stuff here as well. So you're getting bonus content. Yeah, you get it. You get the Arcane Artifacts in the Cave of Jin. So other stuff maybe is available as well in the Pledge Manager here, including Tussie Mussy, Sprawlopolis, and Skulls of... I'm going to mispronounce that. So there you go. Button Shy, giving it all and getting another 20 grand already at the time of me filming this. So check it out. Stop it, Kickstarter. You're drunk. Okay, then we're heading over Neverrift. And you're going, Chris, a TCG only has $135,000. Yes! But let me tell you why. Because this gives me very much vibes of, I don't know if you remember this game. You probably won't, but I remember this game because it's been on my radar since it launched on crowdfunding like 2 or 3 years ago. And then I think it's recently been delivered in the last like 6 months or so, Arakan Wars. And it's sort of a rift on, and game where you've essentially got your King Domino style board of your 4x4 grid in most playing counts, and you're slowly laying these cards down just basically Go style, right, where the person's with the most face up or markers face up as you slowly pass control back and forth between your monsters on the playing field is the winner. Because all you're doing is playing one monster and one place or one other event card sort of on a turn-by-turn basis. There's spells as well that you're going to be utilizing that go straight to your discard pile. But you have this 4x4 grid that you're just filling up, and the monsters have like 4 sides on them in terms of their attack values, and they simultaneously attack all 4 sides. And if that attack value on that side is higher than the attack value of the monster that it lays down next to adjacently, non-diagonally, then you flip that other monster over and it becomes under your control. And so how you spatially arrange and place that is going to be part of it in terms of a deck construction, deck building-esque vibe, as you slowly also TCG it at the same time with playmats and all sorts of thousands and thousands of dollars speculatively that you can do in addition here. So how do you feel about that? That's where I think the dichotomy is. A lot of TCGers just want to purely speculate and throw money at the screen from that side of things, and maybe the board game side of things as a whole scares them a little bit. I don't have a clue. No AI art though, so I'll give them the kudos. This art is actually pretty freaking sweet. And that's essentially the game, right? You go until this grid gets filled up, and if you want to play a 2x2 player game, so teams essentially, right? You do 2 4x3 or 3x3 grids next to each other. The quick game is 3x3. The bigger game is 4x4. And you just go until, again, like I said, it's all filled. So that's it. That's it. All included. Card types, rarities, blah, 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 blah. How to play. I just talked you through. So a couple more preview videos down here. And then that's about it. You can check it out online. They give a little bit of overview of the asymmetric factions with their strengths and their weaknesses. And they even touch base on that in the, well, rulebook, as you can see here, right? In terms of who has what strength and the 5 that you're going to be starting with. So there you go. That is Neverrift. And you can apparently try it online right now. And all these people are backing it or supporting it as a community. And we'll see where it goes. But it's got, 150,000 at least by the time of me filming this and you guys watching it. So there you go. Then we're going over to here to my boy Chad running 25th Century Games here, and we got a 4 combo situation going on, sort of like an all play, but a little bit of everything. Grand Central Skyport, Wine Cellar, Sand Art, and Big Sur. $21,000. You want them all, you can get it for 65 or even 75 bucks. 15, 15, 15, and $30 each of individually with a little bit of deluxifications, a little bit of promo pack. What we're going to do is we're going to break them down as we go. We'll skip down to them in order, though. Big Sur, site collection tableau building, where you're building a highway with cards and resources that you're going to discard to play other cards. And in order to meet some of those landmark conditions in advanced variant, you're going to be able to, well, meet the conditions and score additional points that way. And you go until the draw deck is empty. You have 5 cards out in front of you in terms of the highway that you can grab, up to 2 of them on your turn in your 5-card hand. And then you get to play one of them if you can build, or build as many as you can on your turn, achieving those landmarks when you meet certain conditions on the highway in the first place. That's that one. Wine Cellar is an auction bidding style game where you are dealt a hand of cards that are your bids, essentially right here. And then you are going to be bidding on these central market cards. And what you're doing then is you're laying this card down, highest one gets first pick. That's all it is. But the tricky scoring comes in the fact that you're going to be then lining these up on their side, on their flip, and then you're going to be scoring them depending on from top to bottom. You're going to have 8 in a column, essentially. First one, second one, third one, so forth and so forth down. It actually is scored on which one that is over. Does that make sense? Did I explain that poorly? Yes. So if this is the top one right here, you get the leftmost scoring. If this is the second one, you get the second to the left. Third, fourth, moving your way across as you go down a number of points. Then you're also going to have connoisseurs or clients that you're going to be scoring asymmetrically in terms of the objectives, the wineries, the vintages, whatever else you can from a set collection combo-rific scoring aspect as a whole, right? Next up, scrolling down to sand art, well, you're literally pouring sand into bottles and jars, trying to then create different layers of colors to match your objectives that are given to you on a game-by-game basis. And what you're doing is you're essentially moving, shaking, pouring, or grabbing dirt, sand, to get those spots filled on the side and then to dump them in the middle in order to make your patterns match. Layer cards, objective cards, majority cards, all the ways that you're going to be scoring on this bottle, almost roll and write style of pad as you go along, because you're going to be moving across the different action spaces on the board that are going to be available to you from one end to the other with the little hands that have to point inwards as an action playing. As you can see, pick it up, and, well, let me point this out. Each of these action cards has a top and a bottom with different actions that are going to be pertaining to what you may want to do. Filling your bottle, earning the points and patterns and objectives. Then we get down to Grand Central Skyport. Place a card, move a card, trigger abilities, and then move on the rondo on a turn-by-turn basis until somebody draws the endgame card from the deck randomly, and then everybody gets one more turn to finish up what you can do. Airships of different colors, tycoons of variable objectives. You're going to be managing this all along the way as you're going along this rondel. Stacking, switching, combining these piles of airships as you move them around, trying to get the most points based off of your abilities that are going to be accessible to you in the first place. Again, runs you through right there. You get everything you need to know, and this seems like a little bit of a different rondel style game. And the aesthetic on all of these is fantastic. Personally speaking, it's going to be looking like a Grand Central Skyport or a Wine Cellar of the most interesting from my standpoint. But you can get all of them. You can get one of them, however you want to do. But again, get the ones that are right for you. Don't go in for the big bundle just to save a little bit of money, because you're always spending more to save a little bit less overall. But again, 25th Century Games, 20,000. Check it out. Next up, all-time wrestling Rumble in Abu Dhabi with some actual real life wrestlers from the past and a little bit of current. And this is an expansion, a standalone expansion, I believe, that can be combined with the base game, $16,000 for a game that's relatively well received. And I have a little bit of mea culpa. They sent this to me and I have not done a review on the base game as a whole. So I apologize, extremely humbled. I'm sorry. I want to just put that out there, fall on my sword. Cash in Arts, I'm sorry. I will get it out and I owe you a big apology there. But what are you doing in this wrestling-based game? Standalone expansion that you can combine. A few that you may recognize more recently, but also some, do-it-yourself ones as well. So again, Kenny Omega, goodbye and good night. I miss Kenny Omega. I really wish he was wrestling right now. What is going on with this game, though, is they're also offering a Royal Rumble-ish vibe with this expansion. But essentially what you got is a combo-driven card-laying style game with a momentum track that you're going to be slowly swinging back and forth, trying to get enough momentum to pin your opponent or to get them to tap out, essentially, as you're going along. Playing attack cards, driving combos in order to push them to their limit, so that they can't get the momentum back on their side in order to pin you. Dice-driven, potentially kick-out combat system if you can't defend yourself any further, but that's going to be the way that you can mitigate, defend, or potentially avoid the attacks in the first place. The Rumble edition here is the new stuff as a whole. Don't believe me on how this game is well received? Well, Shelfside recommends it, so they like it. You should like it too, potentially, if this is your style of things. They talk to you how to play it here, plenty of videos that also are going to show you what the Rumble edition is going to offer you as well. I wish there was a little bit more information on the page to show me what they've got going on here. A few stretch goals with a little bit of content as well. But then if you actually want to know how to do it from that aspect of things, there are actually links to the rulebook on the page as well. And it shows you, again, what you can get and how you're going to be getting things differently in the Legends Deluxe Applied pledges or anything else in between. The Rumble here actually is a variant in the sense that it's going to be more of a free-for-all where you're taking rounds instead of momentum swinging turns back and forth, chaining those combos, but everyone's going to be playing a card trying to then have somebody else submitted or pinned. It doesn't matter who gets pinned. It doesn't matter who does the pinning. It's just first one to pin somebody else wins. Highly underrated indie style game. It's fun. It's something that you should give your eye on if you're looking for something completely different. It captures the spirit of this very well. And, $16,000 for a game you probably never heard of. It's pretty freaking sweet. So go check it out. We're going to mention this just because it's on here. It's from Vediiic, doing the miniatures here. Cohor's Cthulhu, right? They're like Roman Empire, complete historical-based war game, except you're going to go fight Cthulhu. Solo, cooperative, whatever you want. 3 different acts and 3 different game scales you can do. I have no clue. Resin minis and everything else to go along with it. Some stretch goals, a bunch of tons of miniatures there, and way out of my scope to be able to talk about. But there you go, because it's got $50,000 and it's almost funded at the time of me filming this. So you into that? Go check it out. Next up, Wastelandia, co-op solo boss battler. It's sort of got a little bit of a Dice Thrones vibe with a little bit of a dungeon crawl, more like Townsfolk Tussle, if you will. But essentially what you've got going on here is you've got these asymmetric unique characters that are going to be doing dice to roll and put allocate them, essentially, the different ability tokens into these areas in order to activate the abilities on a turn-by-turn, round-by-round basis as you go back and forth against the baddie, and you have to win 4 battles in order to actually win the game. So you fight 4 different subsequent bosses and leveling up and getting better abilities as you go in between. So the designer reached out to me and he said, hey, this is my game. And I said, okay, I'll check it out. And that's the big vibe of it right now. There's a couple preview videos at the bottom that you can check out if you want. But I guess, like with Dice Throne, only now is more of a cooperative instead of a competitive head-to-head. It's going to have a lot of luck, and you're going to be mitigating it. I've heard, again, some comments on the forum section when I was reviewing it or checking it out in terms of more information, that it can be very swingy, as you would expect, a dice-based ability, situation game as a whole. So that's what you've got going on here. And you're getting cards, abilities, rewards, power tokens. You can do fear to the bosses in order to do them more damage with subsequent attacks. And you can get it a little bit deluxeified here with some of the bling and the components. So if you like that sort of thing, go for it. What's the price point, though? I wasn't actually paying attention. $47. Okay, so it's a little bit more expensive for a non-deluxeified. $69 is definitely more expensive. And $94 is super expensive for a deluxeified card-based dice situation throne-esque game. Again, nothing bad, nothing, interesting elsewise to say about it. But if you want to know, here's a couple of preview videos that you can check out and see if you want to back this indie-style game. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of the art, but at the same time, I always say gameplay wins me over everything else. So rulebook's on the page as well, and you can get a demo here on Board Game Arena. So if you have any interest in this, well, give it a look-see. Oh, by the way, it's one of those games where when you're playing cooperatively, you play 2-handed solo, so you have 2 characters. But if you're playing with 3 or 4, you lose not only if you can't defeat the boss in 6 rounds, but you also lose if anyone gets knocked out. So you only have a limited time frame to get those abilities ramped up, comboed, and, knock it on the door. But then also, don't let anybody die. So there you go, Wastelandia. We'll hop over to Game Found here with Cysmic. You may have missed my review earlier in the week. I talked about it. I mean, again, like massively overproduced game. But it's really going for the spirit of what they want out in the first place. And so I give Jason, a lot of kudos for going for it, right? And so the thing I wonder about, though, is I believe this is actually less funding right now than it had on the previous one, than Kickstarter, when it launched last year and did not succeed. I think they went for like $150,000 last time, and or 160, which is what it is now. But I mean, it had like 116, 120 or something like that previously. Again, just not with the reach. And so I wonder if that's a little bit of a game fund effect on some of the smaller projects. We'll see, though. I mean, we always talk about this, hotness and this needing to fund in X seconds. All that matters is you fund, though, the bottom line. The question is, are you willing to sustain out to the end of the campaign to see if you're going to do it? So, you know what? Again, I never root against campaigns. I always hope they're going to do it. So this is nothing different in that sense. And yeah, you're playing 1 to 6 players. You're playing Escape the Planet, because essentially the planet is going to be slowly destroyed by this catastrophic seismic event, fracturing, causing hexes to be destroyed, picking up your resources based on your various land masses, having to attack each other with a combat-based locking system where you don't automatically resolve the combat in the first place, but you resolve the combat only when you play one of your command cards. That is literally the battle card. And the combo system that you're going to be driving in this in a round-by-round basis is you are 10 cards in your hand of command cards in 5 turns over a single round. And essentially what you're doing is you burn one, play one, burn one, play one. So you're not going to be able to play everything. You have to choose, but then you're also going to have some deduction elements of things if you're paying close attention to what other people are doing. Truth be told, it's less of that element, it's more of the others, and you have to get these blueprint modules in order to complete your shape in the first place. And they have an end game variable condition of, well, if you want to play with it, you can, as the main way of ending, but you can also modify it if it's not your favor. If you don't have all of your troops or can't gather all of your troops back into the ship in the time you're trying to launch, your ship away from the destroying planet, well, then you roll a die. And if you roll well enough, then you do get to escape. And maybe there's consequences in the later game, which I felt kind of mixed about, right? Like, I don't really want a die roll at the end of the game deciding whether or not I win or someone else wins on their next turn. And so it was a little bit, in a sense, could be anticlimactic, and it's got this Amerithrash vibe going very strong in terms of the command cards, but then also being very tactical on the board, because you're not going to have enough turn-by-turn knowledge of what it's going to be there by the time your turn comes around in order to pre-plan any extensive amount whatsoever. It's doing a lot of cool stuff. It's a fun game. It's got 18 different faction leaders that you can take the role of. It gives you a unique board system setup differences as you're playing. And then on the board itself, not only you're playing one of those cards, you're getting other actions mitigating in terms of the board's just slotting that give you different ways of doing things along the line, in addition to the card you're actually deciding to play, because even the card you're playing may have 2 or 3 different actions, discovery cards that are going to be going along, event cards, and asymmetric item action cards to go along with it. So I mean, it's gonna be a lot, though. I don't even know the price point. He didn't tell me. I didn't look. $140. I mean, and that's why, right? That's what I fear on crowdfunding nowadays. If you have an unknown, are you better off? And this is what I posed in my video too, right? Like, where is that line? Are you better off going around the first time, getting this funded, having it be the bare bones basics like a Japanese board game, and then coming back after people love it and it's got an audience and, a couple big channels, review it and put out that side of things? So you do like a Madara, or you do something along those lines where, yeah, right, that's the sort of situation I wonder. And go big or go home, and that's what they're doing here. So if you want the expanded edition, it's going to be $175. What is the difference though with that? Espionage expansion, solo expansion, Euro mode expansion, 5 to 6 player expansion factions, co-op Save the Colonists expansion. So tons of extra stuff. So for all of that extra stuff, all of those things are $35. That's great, but $140 is going to have to get you in the door in the first place. So do you want that? That's the box I had right there. So if you want that, I'm sending it back to Jason just prior to filming this video. So maybe he can send it on to you if you want to do that. So that's everything. Check out all the other videos from the people that covered it last time that were bigger, better, and more, eloquent about it than I was. My video is actually right on the page there. I wasn't expecting that. So all the other stuff from the first campaign is on there as well. So lots of information, rule book, and video. And you know what? Give kudos. If you don't want to watch anything fancy from anyone else on the internet, just watch the designers playthrough, because I think they do a good job of rather explaining it right there as well. So there you go. Want more? It's all on the page. I give them a lot of kudos. There's a lot of stuff on this page, and it should help you figure out whether or not this is right for you, but that's Cysmic. Let's talk about Evil Dead 2 1%. Cult horror movie Evil Dead 2. It's a new pre-order. How did I find this? I randomly went to the GameFound page, because even if you go and search projects on the GameFound page, I'm going to talk about this. I don't care. I don't care if you want to tune on this part of the video. Old man ranting at the sky right now from his lawn, yelling. I clicked newest, right? Okay, I get one upcoming. I get one that just launched. I get one late pledge. I get one that launched, Upcoming. What the frickin' deuce is going with this upcoming? Like, how is this sorting BS, right? Pledge manager right there, upcoming right there. So is this just like literally when the page goes? If you're looking for new projects, this is why it's a cluster. You can't find the stuff unless you're one of the lucky few where you click on GameFound, or you're raising money, or GameFound just kind of likes you better. I hate saying that, but that's what happens. Is they pick a couple, just like Kickstarter does. Only Kickstarter, again, they put the little stamp, and they love everything. So right, that's a whole nother issue. But otherwise, I mean, like, none of this stuff is up here. None of those ones I just showed you, the ones that are, trying to actually raise money right now, are on the front page, except for, like one or two of them. So that's really hard for small time creators. I'd be worried about that if I was putting this out. Like, I understand it's better for creators and designers and the pages and the fees, and I understand that. But how much are you losing with just ease of accessibility, right? That's what I always wonder. And again, it's probably way overblown, and I'm probably just, again, making this stuff up in my head. But I just wonder, if you do sort by it, it becomes a little bit easier here. But again, I just think it's weird how this is happening sometimes too. So yeah, it's just me. I'm sure I'm just, overthinking things as a whole. And I just like to see more prominence for these smaller campaigns. I'm passionate about these small indie publishers getting some attention. And so, I just wish it was easier to find some of them in the first place. But back to this one, right? It's a Evil Dead 2 pre-order situation, right? All you have to do is roll 0 on both dice. Okay. You start with cards, you make bids, and there's a suit that you're going to be utilizing, taking turns to increase it, but also, increasing it as you go along. It's kind of a BS sort of situation here. And if you're out, well, there's only one person remaining, and then you take cards or you roll the dice to try and win. And the longer you go, the more chances you have to win in the first place. I have no idea. Pre-order exclusives. Again, they don't tell you how long you have to pre-order it. It's a $20 game. I don't know. Check out the videos if you want, but it's pre-order, right? So check it out. Look, we'll see if I can do this one, right? 18 Hex Games Collection, Volume 2. 6 new backpack games with hex-based systems. Castle Duel. Conteseris. I'm trying here, folks. I'm trying this week. Dingerfingers. I don't know what that is. I'm not going to try and pronounce that. Molecule and the Many Dungeons. So again, it's got $9,000. People must love these pocket style games. I think the vibe and the aesthetic is kind of cool, and they run you through all the ones right here. And you know what? If you want to pay for all of them, well, you can get one for $14 or 6 of them for $67. So you're getting a little bit of extra, getting a little bit discounted price back in an indie style. Castle Duel, playing these hexes, move, attack, castle capturing, if you will, at the end. I like this little aspect down here, very strategically and tactically based. Play it online as well. Puzzle Dungeon co-op experience, 18 hex tile basis, if you will. So it's the button shy of hexes, as you may look at it and see, and then raising your heroes to the maximum level and solving anywhere the dungeon from 1 to 3 players as you crawl along. Setups, settings, and challenges to keep you going as you're going through it. Then you have Flippo, that's what that is. A real fast numbers game of tiles and flipping and placement in a hole. The goal is simple, sum 10 before any of your opponents. So just flip and get to 10. There you go. Dingerfingers. Sounds like something from Bluey. Fun party finger experience. Wait, what? I agree. In this game, you're going to be competing alone or aided by Finger Olympic Rumble for 2 to 12 players? Good gracious. Mini games. So it's Mario Kart, the hex-based game as a whole. And then Molecule down here, abstract Connect 4 twist genre style with the longest molecule connection to prevent your rivals from overcoming the score as you're laying these down next to each other. Just connected over 6 to 9 rounds. And very abstract in nature. So I kind of like that one. The last one, I'm not going to pronounce it. It's an auto battler. Video game genre. And what you're going to be doing is drafting, placing, and just watching them fight until somebody's team wins or somebody's team loses. So you don't lose the battle. You want to win the war. Stretch goals here. Game token upgrades. Scoring tokens. Enemy illustrations. New game modes. So again, indie style of things. I think they reached out to me a while back, or maybe it was one of the ones on the Facebook group for reviewers. I don't remember. I mean, there's 2 or 3 of these that I might be interested in, like Castle Duel as an example for, just a little bit of something. That would probably be the biggest one because me, I'm an abstract person. The other ones, like with the Auto Battler or even Flippo, would be great for my kids. But I'm not sure I would necessarily want them. Probably like Castle Duel and Molecule would be my most interesting ones, but There you go. They're killing it. So 144 people. Check it out. I'm covering it. How brave is Mave? So you have a plank or a DIY plank that you're doing as you're trying not to let the goat fall off the side of the table. And what you do is you just gradually add cards to the path until, well, somebody makes Mave fall off and then everyone else wins. You just select the cards, interlock them based on the system that they've got here, play it over a 10-minute party style-esque game, and rinse and repeat. That's it, right? Building the path, playing the cards, number of the cards that you have to use, how to make them all stick together in order to do it. And if you want to pay for $25 or $40 with the expansion to get it as a whole, you can. Or if you want a ton of stuff, $60 will also get you more. So, I mean, people like it. Gives you 3 ways to play, upgrades, 7 ways to play the Icy Plains as well. The expansion, the Dare to be Wild. I'm sorry, I couldn't do that. And if you want to see what other people have to say, you can check these people out down here and they'll give you more quotes that you can see if this is right for you. But that's it, right? Walk the plank with a goat. Brave is Mave. Next up, Micro Moonshine, back over on GameFound here again. $18,000 of its $21,000 funding goal in a worker placement style vibe where you are slowly gathering your resources, both dirty money and clean money, in order to play 4 rounds with 6 turns on each round as you're doing worker placement at these various locations, and then gathering up your resources, paying with your cash of whatever variety in order to score the most points in a card drafting mechanistic approach with different symbols on the buildings that you're slowly going to be acquiring. The city consisting of the 8 building cards, double-sided with your actions that you're going to be utilizing, as well as the contracts that you're going to be fulfilling as you go along in the round structure of a drafting, then taking your main actions, whether that's market, city, crew, however you may do it, of the 4 crew cards that you can have available to you on a turn-by-turn basis. And then after 6 turns, well, you discard all your contracts, refill them, and add the clean dollars if nobody's bought them previously. Flip all the buildings from one side to the other to get the other actions that are going to vary up this game on a round-by-round basis. Redraw all the ingredient cards that you're going to be utilizing to distill in the first place. Rinse and repeat based on the bottles and the dollars that you have to score victory points at the end, right? Micro game, well, with a little bit bigger play style. So solo, unique setting, prohibition, right? They're going for it. How to play, the workers that they go through right here, and they have passive abilities, different actions, and different symbology that you're going to be utilizing along the way. Solo, if you're a big solo junkie, enough video content to whet your appetite and more. A neoprene game mat if you're super excited. And, well, backing another English publisher this week. So, again, everything you need to know is on the page as a whole, and it's going to cost you only $28. But if you want the game mat, it's going to be another $22 on top of that. So, that's why they're almost funded. Micro Moonshine. Then we're talking about Shrinkopolis here, right? 3,200 of 5,400. It's a tile laying resource management style game as you're building another city in a small, tile based situation more than anything else. What you're doing is you're drawing one tile card into two little resource other cards next to them. And then you're gathering those slowly up to build your city to get more resources as you connect the tape sides of the card in the first place. And as it says down here on the how to play section, pick your cards, expand your city, build your other commodities as you're getting more available to you from the reserve or from the market, chain in order to complete combos, and then, well, do it again. How you do it and how you match them together, well, you're going to be doing that combos as well as getting tools and friends via animal cards in order to benefit you the most. Solo mode as well in addition. And again, rulebook, tabletop simulator, and a bunch of videos to help you out along the way. And it's only going to cost you $28 again for this one. And that's okay. That's what you're getting. $28 and $50 if you're looking at those editions. So give it a look-see. Shrinkopolis over on GameFound. Next up, Propuh over on GameFound, Interhuman Games. I have no clue what's going on with this one, folks. It's got $3,000 of a $760 funding goal, so I give them mad props for that. But Propuh, fast-paced, trick-taking style game as a 2-player situation. There's a video here, but unless you watch the video, you'll have absolutely no sense of how this game plays, what it looks like, or anything else along those lines, because there's no rulebook at the time of me filming this. And it says there's these 3 basic areas that you're going to be trying to control on a turn-by-turn, round-by-round scoring basis. The component is that the cards use the trick-taking mechanism similar to what you're used to. Scores based on what location they're at, and, well, moving the granny, playing cards, removing tokens until one player wins with some pictures there. That's it, right? $20. Print and play for $2. So if you're interested, you have to watch that video. There's literally nothing else on the page to help you with that. So I am shocked that they have $3,000, but I thought I'd mention it because they're funded, and $3 grand's more than I've raised on crowdfunding. So there you go. Next up, Galactic Shogun, almost $3,000 as well. We're talking about it. Now, this has a $5,200 funding goal, so we'll mention that they're not funded yet, but we'll see. Because this is a social deduction, card laying, coordination, and deception-based game where you have a roll card as well as a playing card from your turn-by-turn hand that all you're doing is playing your cards, taking the actions, and seeing how far you get through the deck in order to accomplish one of the different 4 rolls win conditions in the first place. And, well, that's it, right? You play cards until, as they say here, the Laser Katana of Judgment is played. And so, depending on when that's played or if that's played, these are the 4 different win conditions that you're going to have, right? You're going to have 1 if they reveal you. If the Galactic Shogunate wins, you win. If you play all the cards without revealing that katana, or if it reveals the Shogun. And so a little bit of coup, a little bit of that aspect. But that's it, right? Play 1 card from their hand, resolve the actions on the card. Game ends by resolving the Katana Judgment card, or if all cards have been played. Unfortunately, apart from Medieval University's video here, that's it. Couple playtester reviews, couple pictures, so try it on Tabletop Simulator, but I'd like to see some more information on what those actions are, how that actually plays, or how the flow is, and what you're actually doing with the Katana of Judgment, and what that can actually kind of show us. You know, that would be kind of nice. But again, no actual rules on the page. So again, if you want to get more video information, well, video, right? Video, keyword there. So check it out. Next up, Warline times Dragon's War, Warline and Dragon's War, Warline cross with Dragon's War, whatever you want to call it. Somehow you're designing your own army, designing your tactics, creating a path in a sandbox fantasy warfare game. Strategic craft is what they're calling it. Almost $3,000 of $1,200 or $12,000 needed. How do you play this game? What are you actually doing? No idea. No idea whatsoever. 2 to 4 players, 30 to 60 minutes. Fantastic. A couple vague quotes that will kind of give you faction-esque asymmetry going on there. Can't tell kind of what you've got there in the first place. You can get it, though, for $108 with an expansion and double-sided playmat, and if you only want the expansion you can do that too, but the base game is going to cost you $34. So again, going down here, getting past the add-ons, getting past the stretch goals, gameplay. Okay, Chris, gameplay. Tactics game you must own. Okay, but must have why, how, what? Scout. Okay, how do you scout? Establish the outpost. What do you do for that? Hire how do you hire the mercenary? How do you take actions? What are you doing here? I just don't know. Like, these are all just word salads to me. Every sacrifice is a literal command. Pervasive theme. Stand victorious, right? Dragon expansion. Next sequence of attacks. Oh, okay. I mean, you're using a lot of good keywords here, but I don't have a clue about how this game actually plays. And then we finally get down here to player-generated content apps. Okay. I didn't know there was going to be app usage there. There's nothing on the page that tells me, where is this? What is this? Gameplay? Rulebook? Actions? How do the turns work? I mean, you've got a quote from a couple people right here. There's no videos from them even on the page. I'm confused. I mean, $3,000 is $3,000, but I mean, I need a little more on the page. So then, let's go over here to Tales of Realms and Ruin. And again, $3,000 of a very similar $17,000 funding goal, if I don't screw it up with my words again. Midweight, epic, control the throne, 3 areas on a game-by-game basis. Take your rounds with 2 actions of the 4 actions that are in this game. Buy cards, play cards, use abilities, or actually no, train troops, and then use abilities of the areas you're controlling. You build your deck, gain followers, and if you control all 3 areas, the game ends. If one of the 3 decks that you're playing from, gathering from, buying from empties out, then you also, well, have the end of the game. But then, depending on which deck empties, the victory conditions are going to be different in all 3 decks in that sense. And that's the game in a nutshell. You know, you've got a bunch of different area effects on the board itself. You're gathering cards, gathering followers, but don't worry, there's also an AI system that's going to be putting followers on the board itself that will take over areas, ruin them, or even cause you to lose the game as a whole. So nobody wins. That's it. That's it, right? Here you go. Play a card, use the realm, train your hero, buy a card, like I mentioned. A couple different decks that you're buying it from that runs you through the events that you're going to be going up against. A couple videos to give you some more, preview smatterings there and a few reviews along the way. And there you go. The rule book's on the page. I got it pulled up right here. You can check this out as well. The events, there's the end game that I was just talking about. So you can look, see, and see if it's right for you. Then, I don't know, but I'm covering it, right? Vediiic, I can't pronounce it. Cosmic strategy game. You're going, okay, Chris. Yeah, this is actually a higher percentage funding than a lot of the other ones you just covered, right? Okay, it's got $1,100 to $2,000. It's got 11 backers. Spoilers, I can't account for at least $300 of that dollars based on the pledge levels right now. And you see that board? That's the most your information you're going to get for 2 to 7 players. Word salad is just speaking of 2 to 7 players intertwines materialism with spirituality, combining elements of competition and cooperation. Okay. What are you doing on this? Elevating pawns to higher spiritual realms, making the game not a battle of wits, but a profound journey of cosmic enlightenment. Okay, I'm getting ramped up here. You have adventurers on an archaeological exploration. It's full of celestial maps and cryptic symbols caught up in imaginations. You assume the role of a distinct cosmic force of one of the planets and get strategies based on them. Okay. It's a cherished artifact from a bygone era, urging players to transcend the material world. Well, I'm not getting the sense of how I'm going to be transcending the material world, except for the fact that part of my material world wallet is going to be leaving my body and going here, because that's the whole freaking page. Right? And again, the price point for the actual game itself, if you just want a digital instruction manual on how to play this, it's going to be $25. If you want the game, it's going to be $40. If you want the prototype, it's $90. But if you want the final production version from Amazon when it's available, and your 104 game cards, 2 dice, 1 board, 14 meeples, 6 discs, and a rule book, that's going to be $150. I don't get it. Why would someone pay $150 from Amazon when they can get it for $40 here? Color me. Ha, confused. There you go. So there you go. That is the roundup this week. Everything and more. Next week, we get into June. We get into the biggest week of the month, potentially of the year as well, with some big crowdfunding projects. And I'll touch on that this weekend in one of the videos of my biggest campaigns to know for June. So tune in if you're not tuned in or subscribed already. And we'll be talking about my thoughts on embargoes, because we just had 2 embargoes lifted this week on big name games, Expeditions. I covered that previously in the news video, and Gears of Corruption, the expansion, at the time of me filming this on the evening of the 29th. Just went live, or I guess I should, the embargo was lifted because all of a sudden some bigger channels all at the same time all had videos come out, right? And then also earlier this week, we saw the Grim Coven ban get lifted, or you know what, maybe it wasn't even a ban, but it felt like one, because again, all those videos went live within about like 36 hours of each other. And most of them also were like unboxings. And so I don't really know if it was just a scramble to get it out first when I see unboxings as the first things that come out, or if it's just, you know, this is what you can put out when. I don't know. Like, I don't get too many of those games, like where they're like, don't put it out until X date, right? I just don't. I just haven't come across them. I just haven't, you know, like 2 ships passing in the night, me and them. So I'm always intrigued by that. And I always like wonder about that when I hear it, right? Like, because Stonemaier, on the opposite hand, right? Stonemaier likes to sort of drag things out, and so that they continue to build the hype over time, whereas some of the others are like, do not post until. So, I don't know. Just weird thoughts I have on this side of the camera that I didn't think I'd be having, you know, on the other side of the camera when I was on the other side and not on this side. I'm done rambling. This is over. So if you missed the May look back on yesterday's video, the two little clips there, if you watch that video, you know what I'm talking about. Woo and no. It's one of those funny videos where I took up some excerpts and, you know, they're funny. I make fun of myself on this channel. I'm, you know, nothing sacred about me, right? Make fun of myself all the time, you know, got to start somewhere, and might as well start with myself. So I'm just like talking about stuff. That's all I got. Have a great freaking day. Stay classy. Soccer game this weekend. It's going to be a basher of a soccer game. 35 minutes one way and then 40 minutes back in the other direction, with less than an hour between the games ending and starting. And that's not to mention the 4.5 hours round trip we spent driving last weekend for 3 games for 1 kid with a soccer tournament. Glad that's over, but my school's done. School's done for kids, right? My two, by the time you're watching this, my kids are probably gonna be out of school because they have a half day on Friday. So, peace out, man. Like, oh, just kidding, I'm working. They're like, Dad, are you gonna be out too? Nope. You know what I'm talking about. Peace out. See you later.